As an organizer, many of the homes I've been in have closets looking exactly like this. So today we're taking a closer look at every major type of hanger to find out which one's actually the best for your wardrobe. With so many hanger options out there, it can feel overwhelming to pick one. And since they're primarily a functional item, it can feel tempting to just grab the next cheap set that you find on the clearance rack. Because hey, it's just a hanger. But as tempting as that might be, it typically leads to a disorganized looking closet. And clothes that fall to the floor so often, you might as well just let them live there. The truth is, one of the easiest closet upgrades you can make right now is to simply switch to a uniform set of hangers. Having a matching set gives your eyes instant visual consistency and makes the entire space feel cohesive. Now, elevating your closet and keeping your clothes off the floor can be as simple as swapping out your hangers. But pick the wrong one, and you actually risk the possibility of ruining the clothes in your closet. So today we're talking which hangers give your clothes shoulder bumps, snag your favorite delicate items, and can even stain your clothes. To help you decide, I'm grading each hanger on 5 key metrics: cost, durability, space efficiency, fabric safety, and the grip factor, so you can feel confident investing in the right one for your specific needs of your closet. And be sure to stay till the end, where I'm going to share my top pick. Let's start with the one hanger almost everyone has had in their space at one point or another, and there's a decent chance you've got one in your home right now: plastic hangers. Now, these are great because they are incredibly budget friendly. Typically, you can find standard bulk options for around 36 cents a hanger. Keep in mind, the prices I'm sharing today are the average for basic styles. Depending on where you shop or where you live, you might find these hangers at different price points. But as a baseline, plastic hangers are typically inexpensive, and they hold up relatively well. Now, they're not indestructible, as my kids proved the other day playing their version of Attack of the Hulk, but for everyday use, they're pretty tough. When it comes to grip factor, they score pretty low here. Because they have zero traction, clothes slide off effortlessly. If you constantly find yourself picking clothes off the floor, there's a very good chance that it's because you're using plastic hangers for things with wider necks, thinner straps, or silkier fabrics. Plastic hangers simply don't have the hold to keep those types of items in place. Plastic hangers are also more thick and bulky, and so they're going to score lower on space efficiency because they actually take up a good bit of your rod space. Lastly, cheap plastic hangers often have sharp, imperfect seams left over from the mold and manufacturing process. And these can snag more delicate fabrics like laces and silks and satins. And because of their rigid, sloped shapes, they concentrate all of the weight right onto these outer edges. This can create permanent shoulder puckers over time in things like t-shirts and like cardigans. On the plus side, plastic hangers can be an excellent option for air drying things, as they don't warp or rust when wet. But you've got to make sure that you choose smooth ones with no seam imperfections, or else they will snag your delicate items. Next up, for my friends who have a lot of dry cleaning, these may be slowly taking over your closet, and that's the wire hanger. Now, for cost, some people may consider these free because you get to pick them up when you get your dry cleaning. But honestly, when you consider that you might be paying $3 to $7 per dry cleaned garment, you're paying a premium for a service, but getting a subpar hanger that has the potential to ruin your wardrobe. So I would not consider these freebie hangers worth stocking up on. Now, for the basic wire shirt hanger, the main pro here is space efficiency. It is incredibly thin. However, when we consider the pant hanger, these are less space efficient. Now, standard wired hangers are incredibly slippery, meaning wider tops and things with satiny fabrics will slip right off. And as anybody who's ever used one of these to roast s'mores knows, they're very easy to bend out of shape. So they rate fairly poorly for long-term durability. Now, over time, these hangers can rust, especially if you live in a humid environment. And this rust can permanently stain your clothes. So while they're fine for transportation to and from the dry cleaner, they're not optimal for long-term storage. Lastly, the curve of these also concentrate your weight pretty heavily on shoulders of certain garments, so they can easily create those puckered shoulders on certain types of knits. Unless you're planning to keep these around for roasting s'mores, I'd recommend recycling them. Now, if you absolutely love the ultra thin wired hangers for space efficiency, but you hate the dry cleaner quality, you can upgrade to heavy duty stainless steel wired hangers. These will run about 52 cents a hanger, but because they're stainless steel, they won't rust and they won't bend out of shape. Just keep in mind, they're still just as slippery as regular wired hangers. So if you have a lot of wide necks, silkier tops, or thinner straps, this probably isn't your best option. If you're finding this content useful, would you make sure to hit subscribe so that you don't miss the rest of the series? And I genuinely would just truly be grateful. Okay, moving on to the next contender. Now let's pivot to the current darling of the organizing world, velvet hangers. With a typical cost running around 54 cents per hanger when you buy in bulk, these are an incredibly affordable mid-range option for anyone looking to overhaul their entire closet. When it comes to space efficiency, these are quite thin when compared to things like plastic and wooden hangers, and often you can get about 50% more items in your closet with the space efficiency of a velvet hanger. Now, when it comes to grip factor, they score almost perfectly here. Things with wider necks, silkier fabrics, or thinner straps aren't going anywhere. But that high grip factor can be a con for some people if you're the type of person that likes to yank your clothes off the hanger. The velvet on the hanger will fight you, and you may find that annoying or frustrating. Now, these are excellent for your fabrics because they gently contour to distribute the weight of the garment that's hanging on it. So if you want to avoid those ugly shoulder bumps, switching to a velvet hanger is a great way to avoid that. Now, for everyday wear, these are pretty durable, although velvet hangers can snap under heavy weight, or if you're pretty rough on them. But if you've got a lot of heavier clothes like jackets, blazers, suits, you can opt for a velvet coat hanger. Now these run a little bit more. They're, I think, on average around $3.17-ish. And while these thicker hangers are clearly not space efficient, they will hold the weight of your heavier things like suit jackets and coats, and they'll also help keep the shape in the shoulders on some of your more structured items like blazers. And if you are going for a uniform look and you are using the velvet hangers for the rest of your closet, remember we can fit more with those, so it should free you up to have some space for some of the bigger hangers that you might need for your heavier structured items. A quick tip, hanging wet clothes on these velvet hangers can flatten out the velvet structure on them, and over time it can lead to the items kind of sticking to the hanger. So if you use velvet hangers in your closet, I'd suggest opting for a drying rack in your laundry room, or looking for a few plastic hangers without the sharp seams to keep around for hang drying your delicate things. Now, if you want that high-end boutique look, you're going to want to consider wooden hangers. Now, wood is definitely the most expensive item on the list. Wooden hangers can start around $2.50 to 70 cents per hanger, and so outfitting your entire closet with it can be a major investment. Now, traditionally, wooden hangers take up quite a bit of space. If you're fortunate enough to have a large closet, space efficiency might not be that important to you. And if you've got room in the budget, you might just want to go for the wooden hanger option. But if you live in a smaller apartment or have a smaller closet, the wooden hangers often can eat up your rod space. But if you love the look of wood, they do make thin line hangers. Now, they're not quite as narrow as the velvet, but they are slimmer than traditional wood hangers, and these can be a great option if you really love the look of wood. So these obviously are very durable, being made out of wood. They are going to last a long time. That is why they're such a big investment. And when it comes to protecting your clothes, these can really hold the weight of garments that you need them to. Plus, if you opt for a cedar option, it can act as a natural pest repellent. Now, wooden hangers score relatively low on the grip factor. Because of the smooth finish, things with wider necklines, silkier fabrics, and thinner straps often don't stay on very well. But pro tip, maybe you've already invested in some, or you've had some passed down and you would like to keep them, there is an option for an adhesive rubber strip that can attach right to the shoulders to help those pesky items from falling off. And you could even add those rubber strips to a wooden hanger that has a notch. That way you have multiple ways to keep the strap secure. Now let's talk about these multi-tiered cascading hangers that are frequently advertised as space saving. First off, let's review this multi-tiered velvet hanger. Personally, I just don't think these make sense. As we talked about earlier, velvet has a really good grip. So trying to slide pants in and out of these static slots that are pretty narrow is just going to lead to frustration. However, if you're genuinely tight on space and need to maximize every inch of your closet, you might consider something like this instead. So this is a tiered option, but the difference in this versus the one that I just showed you is that it has an articulating arm that can open and swing out. This makes it incredibly easy to get the item that you need and to close it back up. One thing to note is if you have a lot of pants stored on here, it can be difficult if you are trying to like slide it in. So I'd suggest opening up till you get to the rack that you're trying to get to before you slide it on. Then you can close it up just like so. It gives you more flexibility and much more ease of hanging up the item itself. Then we have the cascading shirt hangers. If you like moving quickly in your closet, I would not suggest these for everyday use. I have found over time that the top is semi-easy to get the item on, but if you're looking to get something from the middle or the bottom, it can just be a headache, to be honest. Now, if you have items that are infrequently used and you're wanting to save on that horizontal space and put it more vertically, these can work. The one use that I have found for these in my home is I have used them to store out of season jackets, like rain jackets, winter jackets. That being said, once it comes to the season, I immediately take them off because it is really cumbersome to try to get in and get to the middle and bottom jackets. It just turns into a fight, and I find it incredibly frustrating. I also find that these things shift and then your stuff ends up like cattywampus in your closet, and that's incredibly annoying to fix all the time. Okay, last type of cascading hanger we're gonna review. Now, I had seen these online, and as an organizer, I am looking at new product and reviews all the time. So I actually ordered these just to try them out for myself and in person and get a feel for them. Let me talk about some things I think are working and some things that aren't. First off, one of the things that I found a little bit frustrating was the way that the hook just sticks straight down. You actually have to come at a pretty steep angle to get the hanger into the hook. If I just came like at it like this, it was really hard and annoying. But if I tilted it up a little bit like this, it went in so much easier. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think the design could be altered a little bit for improvement. I saw reviews of people posting this in their closet. In my opinion, if you do this, you are buying hangers to attach your hangers to. Your money could just be spent in other ways to make your home more organized. Now, if you are truly needing the space, then we would need the hanger to be collapsed, right? By keeping it in the collapsed state. Yes, this does save space. You can see the items that took up the entire bar now collapses down to a fraction of the bar. If you visually like this aesthetic of everything collapsed down, go for it. These might be a great fit for you. You can slide to the rack that you want, hang it up, and get the garment that you want from that rack. But another thing that could be seen as a bit of a negative is because these are all statically hung based on their hook, you can't move them very easily out of the way to get to that one hook. So if you like to scooch things to the side to get what you want, you might find that a little bit frustrating. Another common thing that I found when I was reviewing this product is people were posting images like this, where they had some clothes on the side, they had these racks, and then they had more clothes, and it was so squished together. And the problem that I have with this is you inherently need space in order to open up this cascading rack so that you can get your item. So you need space. You need at least 1 bar's space to be able to open it up, get the item that you need, and put it back. But if your closet is so squished that you don't have enough room to open up the cascading bar for its full width, then I do not suggest getting these. There's really no point. You might as well just invest in some velvet hangers because this is not going to save you much space. So if you're the type of person who likes to squish as much as they can into their closet and you don't like having negative space or extra space, I don't think that these hangers are a great recommendation because it does require that you have at least the width of the bar to be able to slide everything over and operate the hanger system as it's designed to operate. But if you are the type of person who aesthetically likes the way these hangers look when they're cascading down, and you have enough space on your rod to be able to shift them over and to actually hang it the way it's supposed to, then you might like these. Overall, this kind of feels like you're just buying a hanger for your hangers. Now, I will say, if you are opting between this and this is much easier to get the garments off. So if these are your two choices, I would say that the cascading hanger works better than these. Personal opinion, you might disagree, that's fine. Okay, a few more honorable mentions. Now, you might have seen these velvet hangers, and I think the intention is that having a rectangular box to put your pant through makes it easier than fitting your pant through a more triangular shape. But I would contend there's a better option out there, and that is these C-shaped velvet hangers. Now, I find these incredibly easy to take the hanger off and to put the hanger back on, especially for a wider leg, a bell bottom. You just, kind of scoop up where you'd hang it, and it's so easy. So I think these are a better option if you're looking for a velvet pant hanger than the ones here. Last up, a couple accessories. If you like the velvet hanger option, they do make clips. This part right here attaches to your regular velvet hanger and can turn any velvet hanger into a pant hanger or a skirt hanger. These are going to be more gentle on your fabrics, your silks, your satins, than the metal clips. Often the metal clips have rubber on them, but those can degrade over time, and so these can be a good option. Okay, lastly, let's talk about these guys, because I know you've seen them. So these are supposed to make life so much easier and save space by hanging. They just slip on to any hanger that you've got. Now they come in velvet, they come in plastic. They really will work with any hanger that you've got. Now, this might be great if you like to mix and match pieces and you want to set like a row up for Monday, a row up for Tuesday. You want to set your outfits in advance. This could work well. But if you're using it as space saving, I would contend that this creates more steps in your system of getting the item out, putting the item away, and you are more likely to get frustrated and just not put it away. The only object I'm free to get is at the bottom here. That was quite easy. But if I want to get something at the top or the middle, then I've got to take the hanger off, put it up, take this off, and then put everything back. And I wasn't even counting, but it's just so many steps. This is 4 items and it takes up this much space, or you can let them live next to each other and it takes up slightly more space. But I would say in the scheme of things, these little hooks aren't going to save you that much space. Now, before we crown our everyday winner, I'm going to give a quick shout out to a total classic that has been a staple for about a century. And those are satin padded hangers. Now, these aren't meant for your everyday wardrobe. While they are definitely space hogs, they are a wonderful specialized tool for storing delicate pieces like vintage clothing, lingerie, and heavy evening gowns. They offer 0 friction and 0 risk of stretching out delicate shoulders. They definitely shouldn't fill your whole closet, but you may find them helpful for making space for some of your delicate items. Time for a little bit of professional tough love here. If you live in America and have an average size home and an average size closet, and you are finding yourself filling your closets with cascading space-saving hangers, but you have absolutely no extra room, the problem isn't the hangers you've chosen. You need to focus first on editing, on decluttering items out of your closet that don't fit, that have stains, that have holes and tears, or need mended and repaired. And then once you've decluttered out the items that are no longer serving you, you can focus on organizing what's left. Because hangers can maximize space, but they can't perform miracles. So if you find your closet rods full end to end, rather than going and buying a space-saving hanger first, always make sure to do a good edit. It's because I care. That's why we're having this tough love moment. Okay, I believe in you. Do a good edit. So what's my top pick? For the vast majority of everyday closet, velvet wins the showdown. When you look at the scorecard, it just strikes a great balance between space efficiency, fabric safety, cost, and grip. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a large space and a higher budget, you might like the wooden hanger option as well. But if you want to maximize your space and keep your clothes safe, these are my go-to. Remember, one of the top rules with organizing isn't necessarily which hanger that you choose, rather that you choose one style and stick to it. Matching hangers instantly eliminate visual chaos and help your brain feel calm the second that you walk into your closet. I want to know in the comments below, are you team velvet, plastic, or wood? Drop your vote below and make sure to hit subscribe for more simple organizing tips. As always, I'm rooting for you. I'll see you in the next one.